Hey, Peace World. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Please consider becoming a subscriber to the channel. I'd love to hear your input or take on any of the things that I'm discussing. I had to come back around and talk about the new show that's over on Apple TV Plus, Ptolemy Grey, or The Last Days of Ptolemy Grey, based on a book by Walter Mosley. The series stars Samuel L. Jackson, Dominique Fishback, and Walton Goggins. Omar. Damn, I always forget this brother's name. Omar Benson Miller. Uh, that doesn't sound right. I'll come back to that. I didn't write all of those down. Um, you know, the first two episodes are out there on. By the way, Miller's a big boxing fan, big time boxing fan. But the first two episodes are out there on Apple TV Plus right now. I just did a really lengthy uh, review of the first two episodes. If you're familiar with Apple TV, they put out episodes on Fridays, I believe, maybe even Thursday at midnight. You might get some notifications that you have new episodes that you can watch. Um, what else did I want to say? So those are out there. I dig the show. Uh, Kind of like the main thing that I'm getting ready to talk about. I don't know if you've seen this before, whether it's an Instagram post, a meme, or a T-shirt. But there's this saying out there that I've seen before. This caption, and it's something about a lot of times people don't want as in black people. People don't want or people want our rhythm. They don't want our blues. Saying you cool, people are cool so long as we're doing our entertaining and we're doing our over the top stuff. People are comfortable with certain stories and storylines and certain depictions and whatnot. But when we go to deal with some of our, for lack of a better word, we go to deal with some of our shit, or some of our real struggles. Nobody is really interested in our blues. That's what the metaphor is for blues in that. And so every time one of these shows comes, a show that comes out centering or focusing on black people, if it's not street related, if it's not heavy in the streets, then you got to wait with bated breath to see how it's going to be supported. Interestingly, these types of shows don't get a lot of support from, it's not a widespread. People know what people click on, okay? People know that what's considered hot. They know what black audiences flock to. We know what moves the needle, and that's what people focus on. It is what it is. So I wanted to talk about, I see right now on IMDb, I think the show is at like 6.8 out of 10. I think is the current ranking of the show. Now we got to keep in mind, a lot of black people do not sign up and get IMDb accounts or whatever you got to do on Rotten Tomatoes. We're not voting on there. Overwhelmed. No, in large numbers, we're not doing that. So it says 6.8 over there. I do think it's at 86% over on Rotten Tomatoes was what I saw yesterday. So it's not doing horribly. I think the 6.8 on IMDb is a little low. I would say 7.5 at the lowest for me personally. But I like the show. Looking into some of the reviews on it, I watch a bunch of shows, and regularly I'll go and Google the episode, name 20, I'm in 15 or something. Different websites will have recaps of episodes. That's pretty popular right now for the writers out there. Hollywood Reporter, Vanity or something, I think has them. Screen Rant, Collider may have some, and they cover what they want to cover. LA Times, I think, might have a person that recaps episodes. Just Google it. Easy to find. Um, so anyway, I went out and saw one, and one that kind of bothered me, and sort of what I'm talking about with the my statement that I cited as far as sometimes people don't want our rhythm but don't want our blues. And I found one on CNN.com. Actually, it's a review by Brian Lowry. This is a white cat. And I'm not really hating on his opinion. It's just his opinion. There are other it's on the CNN entertainment page. There are another two, I believe, articles on there that are reviews or critiques of the show, and they liked it. So it's a couple of different points of view offered on CNN. But the title of it is "Even Samuel L. Jackson's Star Power Can't Bring the Last Days of Ptolemy to Life," and that was written just yesterday, Friday, or 2 days ago, Friday, 2022. And that's that man's opinion. Uh, I'm gonna get into a couple of, and like I said, I don't hear anybody panning the power shows and the shy and other shows, the stuff that really becomes popular, Snowfall. I don't really see anybody questioning those types of shows that depict a lot of blacks killing one another, gun, murder, double crossing deals, using women to do all kind of things in the script or accomplish all kinds of things, some positive, some negative. Um so so anyway, I think I'll share my screen on this one. Think you can see it now? Yeah. Let me come up to it. So he comes in here in the first sentence. Samuel L. Jackson's considerable star power can't breathe life into the last days of Ptolemy Grey, a slow-moving Apple TV Plus limited series constrained by the disjointed nature of its plot. Just securing a project featuring Jackson, who produces as well as stars, is probably cool enough for the streaming service, but the marquee value doesn't overcome what turns out to be a slog as a viewing proposition. I'm not going to go into much of this, but he says Jackson's title character is introduced in the throes of dementia, relying on help from his nephew Omar Miller, who is murdered early on. Lacking a caretaker, Ptolemy forms a bond with an orphan teenager, Robin Dominique Fishback, before he meets a doctor, justifies Walton Goggins, offering him a second chance, an experimental drug treatment that has the ability to restore Ptolemy's memories, at least temporarily. The dude Lowry, he checks all the boxes and goes in here and talks about what he needs to talk about. Gives you some details on it. He praises Fishback right here. He says, in the latest opportunity to admire Fishback, who continues to build a resume of knockout supporting performances that has included HBO's The Deuce and Judas and the Black Messiah. I've said before, she makes a comment, or there's a scene of her on The Deuce. It's one of my favorite recent scenes and some dope writing. I won't go into the details of it here, but that's when she really kind of stood out for me on The Deuce. What else is in here? Still, the oscillation between past and present already feels like an overused device. I would agree with that, especially if you watch a lot of series and depending on how the showrunners, the directors, the creative people, how they tell the story and how they use some of these different tools. But if you're watching a lot of series and then you go into a new series and it they might not be doing whatever it is. They may not be doing it a lot in their show, But based on all the other shows that you're watching, you run the risk of turning people off when we see all of these flashbacks and him drifting off and daydreaming and whatnot. It takes some patience. But he says the oscillation between past and present already feels like an overused device, and the temporary nature of Ptolemy's treatments, backsliding between them, undercuts the story's momentum before it can reach a not wholly satisfying conclusion. Streaming has become the ideal place for big names like Jackson to bring passion projects, affording them creative freedom and the chance to flesh out stories that would garner less attention as independent films, assuming they get made at all. So he's got bars in here. He's talking some truth in here. He's just not fond of Ptolemy Grey. As for the services, the publicity and prestige render considerations about actual viewership secondary, not that those figures are regularly disclosed. He said, in that sense, the last days of Ptolemy Grey should yield benefits to those directly involved. The upside for viewers of this uneven series isn't as clear. It's a pretty fair, in all actuality, it's a pretty fair assessment of the show. I can't really fault this man. It's not like he went out of his way to bash the show. But I will say, while you do your job and you critique and you say what you have to say on your platform, that is Brian Lowry's job at CNN. Sometimes as an audience, when we do come out here and say we want to see more besides Black people selling drugs, buying drugs from the plug, ordering hits, taking out the competition, we want to see women doing more than being, than walking around as the strippers and go sleep with so-and-so. So when we catch him with his drawers down, we can come in and murk him, the typical things that we see in a lot of these shows, or go screw so-and-so so we can get information out of him. When we say that we want to see more than that, and we come out and have a show like The Last Days of Ptolemy Grey, somebody's got to watch it. I got to stick to, if I was talking about it, wanting to see something different, when I'm offered something different, I got to go talk about it. I got to go watch it and support it. So that's what I tend to do. The thing though, you get to the show and, we do see some of the visuals and the things going on in Ptolemy's memory and his state, his mental state. He's having these flashbacks to his uncle Coy Dog when he was a kid in the deep South. The series takes place in Atlanta, but it's almost, I think he's come up from the Mississippi Delta or something. He was involved in sharecropping or something as a young person. He is supposed to be 91 years old. So that's, for some Black viewers, that's something right there that might be off-putting. I don't feel like sitting around watching nothing about when Black people were completely lesser than and powerless. That's off-putting for some people. Speaking the broken English, that the slave talk type stuff, brothers living in cabins and whatnot, and all of all of that stuff. Some people don't even want to see that anymore. It's easier on the eyes, or more satisfying to watch, a cast of characters all running around in black leather with handguns and cell phones and jewelry, calling shots and toting around duffel bags of money or dope, or some people that works. That's what they want to see. I get it. I'm not gonna stay on here too long with this. So I come over to Andscape. For those of you that don't know, ESPN has a page intended for like Black culture, Black sports stories. It's where they have a group of Black writers, writers of color. I think it's some white and Latino people involved that post stories on here. as you can see up here across the top. But it used to be called last week. I think they dropped the undefeated and started going to this Andscape as the name of the page. I don't know if that's a win or whatnot. They had some a short article on here about what Andscape is supposed to mean. It makes sense to me. I just don't know. I don't even know if people are really reading the undefeated. So maybe does it, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, did it make a noise? I don't know. I will say this lady right here, this female, this sister right here, where is she? Her. She does do interviews on Andscape's YouTube channel. You can find them on YouTube. She has actors, directors, actresses. She has she's like their entertainment contributor or something, and she brings them on for interviews. As they have stuff coming up. You see right here, she's talking to Zoe Kravitz, who hosted SNL last night and played Catwoman in the most recent, the Batman that I haven't seen yet. But you see, she's had her on here. But I came on here to see if they were talking about Ptolemy Grey, and they haven't gotten around to it yet, I guess. So that's that. Again, I saw Samuel L. Jackson and his wife. I saw them on with the Willie Geist weekend show. I think it only comes on Sunday mornings, but I saw them two having a sit down with Willie Geist last week, and they were talking about what it took for them to get this project off the ground. Samuel Jackson talked about how you have to go hat in hand, how you have to go around to certain individuals and find a way to get the projects that you would like to get made. Oh, you can't even see what I'm looking at. Let me change that real quick. But you have to go around and try to figure out how I'm going to get these projects made when you do want to separate yourself from the regular topics and subjects that are, that like Stars has what, 7 titles on there now that all have sprouted out of, or 6, I don't know, sprouted out of the original concept of Power. And all of them are about hustling. But he was on there talking about, who you have to go to see. I just saw the Quinta, I can't Brunson with Abbott Elementary. I see her on, she's on The Shop right now. The latest one is on The Shop with Maverick Carter and LeBron. And she's talking about having to convince a lot of white people who make the decisions of, I think they're on ABC, but going through the process of getting that show greenlit or green lighted, however you want to look at it. And I also heard even let me show you the girl that I was just talking about. Share screen. Here we go to this. Yeah, here's Andscape. Up until like last week, it used to be the undefeated on ESPN.com. But again, they don't have anything on here on the landing page about Ptolemy Grey. You can see they're talking about Batman a lot. Remember Biggie Smalls, who March 9th, I believe, is the day that he was murdered 25 years ago. This was the sister I was talking about right here. Another act, or act another, or maybe it's another act, I think. Yeah, another act right here. She has a interview on their YouTube channel, Andscape, where she's talking to Zoe Kravitz and for her role as Catwoman in the Batman. So they, like I said, they get into their TV shows and their movies that they discuss. They just got around to Ptolemy Grey just yet. I think that's unfortunate, personally. I do. I mean, I guess you get more eyes to the page, possibly, covering Zoe Kravitz and the Batman, and people Googling Batman or the Batman the first couple of weeks, I guess. But again, something like The Last Days of Ptolemy Grey needs some help. It needs people talking about it. It needs to be trending and whatnot. Let me stop sharing that. So that's all I wanted to come on and talk about. Again, that saying holds true. We can sell our rhythm, we can sell our funkiness, we can sell the sexiness, but when we go to talk about when we go to try to sell our blues, sometimes we don't even want them. We don't even want to see them those stories ourselves. We don't really want to see that pain ourselves. We don't really want to deal with the stuff with all the topics and the storylines that The Last Days of Ptolemy Grey is attempting to deal with. And I'm not, and I'm, and I keep it funky. It's parts of the show through the first 2 episodes. There are some things here and there that are a little wonky. Uh, Sometimes the performances, sometimes you actually just hear straight out Samuel Jackson. And a lot of older actors and actresses have these moments. There was, the joke used to be with Al Pacino yelling at people in every movie. Uh there's the clip out there of Denzel Washington with the I guarantee where he says that in a lot of movies. It gets worked into the movies somehow, even though it's a totally different script. But there are moments in here where it just does literally sound like the Samuel Jackson that we see on the TV commercial. And it really doesn't sound like a 91-year-old Ptolemy Grey, or Pity Papa, as they call it. I was wondering what Pity Papa meant, and if I had to really look to see or wait to see what that was about. But it's just a shortening of his name with the Ptolemy. Sometimes the P is silent, but that's where pity for PT, for that PT in his name. That's what Pity Papa comes from. But yeah, some parts of the show, it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but again, I think I have to be patient with it. Some of these shows aren't even some of the popular shows, the most popular shows with the blackest cast and the blackest topics. Some of them don't even them aren't even written or directed by a lot of black individuals. A lot of times. And if you're paying attention, you can see how these writers are kind of don't know what they're talking about. Or we wouldn't really do that. That's not how that would happen. I'm texting my wife something real quick. I got somebody coming to give me a quote. So here, like I said, with being patient, with Walter Mosley stepping more to the forefront, I think he's heavily involved in the script and the adaptation from the book to the movie. I see his name is running the teleplay. I think is like a machine where the dialogue is up somewhere for the performers to stay on their lines or to help them with the lines and whatnot, from what I gathered. But in a lot of the other projects, he's just been listed as a writer, or he provided the source materials or something. But here with this, it sounds like he's more hands-on. I mentioned in my review Debbie, from long time veteran TV, with going back to Kid. But Debbie Allen is directed at least one of the 6 episodes. But these are newer roles when we talk about directing shows, writing them, shooting them, casting them. Some of these roles, it's black people doing this stuff for the first time, which is one thing to consider. I know I'm not that fond of a lot of Tyler Perry stuff, but it is a lot of people doing that type of making those types of shows and making that type of content for the first time. And to the people that make the Marvel titles, somebody like a Christopher Nolan, even somebody like M. Night Shyamalan and whatnot. It's other people, it's individuals, figures from Steven Spielberg. These people have been for 25, 35, 40 years and have mastered what they do. They still make some duds here and there. Um, you know, it's a lot of people that they have a head start in how to put these shows out there and make them come out, make them turn out in a manner that's that lands well. That they work. I'm talking about now with this Raised by Wolves 2 show that I'm watching. Or Raised by Wolves is the series. Really a lot of holes in it. Even just the way some of the CGI looks and the choices that they've made with the script, it's not all that great. And Ridley Scott, who made Aliens, the iconic Alien franchise, he's involved in that. So again, my closing message is we have to give some of these brothers and sisters. Regina King is making some waves as an actor, director, and creator. The Quinta Brunson that I mentioned, she's getting her shot now with Abbott Elementary, and that's hot right now. For whether I liked or loved Insecure from Issa Rae and her apprentice, I can't remember my man's last name, but her and her people. Whether I loved it or not, they're doing that for the first time. It's another young lady I see on YouTube right now. I'm not gonna shout her name out, but I see her. She might be next. She might be the next to go from YouTube to a series deal with a cable network. The sister that did Harlem on Amazon. I know I'm critical of the one lady. I can't even. Oh, Lena Waithe. I know I didn't like The Chi. I didn't like where it eventually started going. Um, you know, she chose to take that where they took it. But it started off looking good. So but like I said, man, my whole thing was, I see, I hear what Brian Lowry at CNN was doing. Like I said, there are 2 other articles on there with different perspectives, different opinions and whatnot. They speak on it differently, so it's not like they just slashed up the show and trashed it and told people don't watch it. Like I said, some of the stuff that Brian Lowry said was pretty fair. It could be slow moving. And I think for anybody that's doing TV reviews, entertainment reviews, and jumping from series to series and talking about stuff, I just grouped like 3 shows together the other day. Where you are with entertainment, you could be harsh on the show based on the 2 or 3 other shows that you're watching. I didn't even do recaps of like the morning show, the second season on Apple TV Plus. I didn't really do many recaps on the morning show, which I was a big fan of season 1. But I didn't do I didn't talk about, or I didn't recap the second season, nor did I recap the most recent season of Yellowstone. I didn't hate neither one of those. I just think they were both affected by the pandemic, and thought these seasons, their respective season, to kind of play it a little safe, but keep the doors open and stay relevant. Speak on a lot of stuff that's going on right now, but I thought they kind of were like placeholders to see if we're gonna come out of this, when things can get back to whatever normal is gonna be. And I didn't hate them. And it's weird, weekly I get a lot of like Yellowstone videos are kind of in my top 3 most viewed videos. But no comments, not many new likes. But if that activity was going on, that would prompt me to talk about those things more. But it's so hit and miss. It just is. I'm telling my business now. Anyway, long story short, Brian Lowry said what he had to say on CNN. I hate to see it on such a, I don't know how big, what the readership is on CNN for that type of entertainment and whatnot. But like I said, he pointed out some things in talking about, and sometimes you can hear negative stuff. You can hear criticism about your content. And it might be, you might look at it on the surface and be like, well, this is from the ops. This is from this white cat that doesn't want to hear this type of black story. You could look at it that way. Or you could listen, you could dig into what the man has put out there and take it into consideration and see if it is a way to improve our product. Maybe we got to think a little more universal. How does this play? How does this sell? But not get away from what you want to do, because you have to do it the way that you want to do it and the way that you envisioned it. But there is such thing as constructive criticism. And like I said, in his piece, Lowry seems to understand the challenges and the difficulties in selling our blues. So with that said, I gotta get ready for this cat to come give me this quote on this project. My name is Wood. Pay me no mind, sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.